So welcome to the node.js Technical Steering Committee meeting for June 14th, 2021. We'll follow our standard approach of going through the agenda in the issue that was posted in the repo, which is issue 1054. Before we get started, does anybody have any announcements that they'd like to share?
Michael could say that there is a new node release that he did a few hours ago.
That's Michael Zasso.
Yes.
Yeah, well, you just said it.
16.5.0 has experimental web streams. Go check it out.
Sounds good. Any other announcements? If not, we can move on to CPC and board meeting updates. I don't have any board meeting updates this week. I think on the CPC front, I can fill in and backfill a little bit on that. A couple things that are going on that people might be interested in is one is discussion around the what used to be called the travel fund, now being seen as a community fund. And so there is some workshopping and brainstorming going on into other things that fund might support. So things like potentially certification, scholarships. There are a few other ideas like thank you program. So if you have an interest in, the community fund, travel obviously remains one of the core things that it's going to be used for. But if you have an interest there in terms of some of the other things, that's a discussion you could get involved in with the CPC. And the other thing is kind of the sort of in the working sessions is the sort of technical strategy to kind of explain how the different projects fit in, what kind of areas are important to the JavaScript ecosystem and stuff like that. So that's what I have on the CPC and board meeting updates. I don't have anything like from the Node project saying, hey, we need to bring this to the board. So if there is, let me know. Otherwise, we can move on to the issues tagged for the agenda. So the first one is future of the Node HTTP client, number 38533. I think we have discussed this a few times. I don't know. I know Ronag's been most active on that front. I don't know if we have anybody else who has like some context or if there's anything that we should be discussing this week. I see from a few weeks ago, we said we didn't have the right people to talk about it, but it ties into what's to be or not be in core. I think there is some ongoing discussion there, but I don't see anything specific to talk about this week on this issue unless somebody has something in mind. Okay, in that case, I guess we can move on to the next one, which is rename default branch from master domain or something similar. So that's an ongoing effort. I think we continue to make kind of like slow progress across some of the easier projects. I know I probably have a few to get back to in terms of ones that I've sort of pinged to say, hey, if there's any issue. But we're going to be getting pretty close to, the point where we're going to have to tackle some of the bigger ones. So, but I don't think we're quite there yet. Once we're there, maybe we can bring that up here to sort of figure out how we might tackle some of the ones where it's probably going to be a bit more effort. But I can see, out of 100, we're probably down to 10 or 15 left, but sort of slow ongoing progress on that. Any thoughts, comments, things we should discuss on that one?
I had a mind to help with that on a few repos as well. I did not get enough time, but I will continue to look for bandwidth to help on that front.
Sounds good. Thanks.
I have a question that's not directly related to the initiative as such, but when we switch from the master branch to the main branch, So what happens to the master branch? Will it get deleted, replaced with main? What will happen to the subsequent pushes to the master branch, like git push upstream master? Will it create a new branch called master? Will it automatically flow into the main? Does anybody know about it?
That is a good question. I mean, I thought that we were basically renaming it, so there might be some redirection.
I don't believe there is.
But no,
I mean,
okay.
In the GitHub interface, there may be like pull requests will be like, you know, rebased to, or, you know, set to the new branch. I'm pretty sure. But I guess we should check that. But we looked into this a long time ago. And,
yeah.
But my impression from the repros we've done so far is that if you don't change your, if you try to push to master, you'll be told no, and that branch doesn't exist or something like that. But somebody else might know better than me. I'm just yammering.
So I had a PR in the diagnostics repo. I was landing it, and by mistake, I pushed it onto the master. After finding the mistake, I pushed it onto the main and took out the last commit from the master, but I wasn't sure the master branch as such existed, or it was newly created as part of my push. So I'm not sure I should be deleting the master branch or leave it as it is.
I mean, we could
right.
set up we could set up a repo just specifically to test this if we want to find out. Just create a repository, throw in a few commits, change the, you know, set up our local stuff however we want, and then change the name and see what happens.
Yeah, I'm just looking at one where we did, like the one where I did a rename, there is just main. So I think it renames it and converts it, but I guess there's nothing that prevents you from creating a new master branch, right?
Right.
Maybe we can use the branch protection rules to forbid pushing to master.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we can add a rule for a branch that doesn't exist.
Right.
We could create it and just have it just be there solely, but anyway, probably not a great idea. But create it and just have it solely there.
Sorry, so you can't push to
deny
it. Yeah. But I think that's doing more than
I mean, it hasn't seemed to be a really big problem with the other 100 repos we've done so far.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like it's an interesting question, and it might be worth looking into just to make sure people don't make mistakes. But yeah.
Yeah. One of the drawback or weakness I can find is that if we leave it as it is in the current approach where we rename the master to main and move ahead, in the future, if somebody does the same mistake as I did, that is pushing to the master and forgetting about that, eventually it will come to a situation where the bleeding edge changes are residing partly in the master and partly in the main without anybody taking notice about it. I'm just thinking about such a possibility.
That I think, sorry, go ahead.
I just tried in a repository where I had renamed master to main, and I was able to create a master branch, which surprised me given what Antoine noted, which is that in the GitHub UI it redirects. If you try to browse main, master, it redirects to main.
That's the thing, like the redirect is kind of one of the important bits, right? And I guess if we accidentally push the master, does it break that?
Yeah, for your information, I was pushing through command line.
Right. So Michael, you're saying we can protect it even if it doesn't exist?
Well, I guess I don't know if it works, but we can create the rule and see what it does.
Okay, because that, I wonder, like, we've done a lot of them, so I wouldn't necessarily advocate going back and doing it on all of them, but like subsequent ones, we could put a rule to try and prevent that if it's something you can easily do through the UI.
I'm going to test that right now.
Okay.
Yeah, and we need to check if it works with organization admins, because there are a lot of rules that are bypassed if you are an admin.
Fortunately, I'm an admin, so we'll see if I can bypass it or not. I don't think the conversation needs to wait for the results.
Yeah, okay, so maybe if you can just comment in the issue
Yeah.
itself would be a good one, and maybe that's like if it works, we can put an extra step in terms of people who are doing conversions on the remaining number. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, which is migrations of core modules to primordials. This is 30697. Okay, I'm just going there. Or if somebody wants to jump in while I'm navigating, who's got context, go ahead. So I think there's sort of been ongoing discussion. I can see, Antoine, you've been fairly active in the discussion. Is there anything we should talk about or sync on this week in the?
I've tried to put my thoughts on the issue comments. I don't know. I feel like other people need to talk on that, because my point, I think, is it's pretty straightforward. I'd like to continue with the status quo, so probably other people should talk for the discussion to move forward.
And when you say you prefer the status quo, you mean to continue to migrate, right?
Yeah. As an alternative, I also propose to restrict pre-modules to a certain part of node cores. So folks have a thought on that. Actually, yeah.
So I guess here nobody's got a strong opinion to share. Should we? Is it a point where we just continue the discussion in the issue for a while, or do we need to, like, is there do we need to move to a vote at some point, or what do you think? What do you think's our current next sort of step, or just wait some more and continue the discussion there?
I guess, yeah, we might need to end up with a vote, because if there's no trade-off coming from the discussion, yeah, maybe a vote would be the next step. But, I'm not sure if it deserves one, but I'd prefer if we found a compromise.
Right, okay. I'm just thinking, so maybe we're not gonna resolve it in this particular meeting, but we need to think about some next steps. So I'd say let's leave it on the agenda. Maybe next time we'll have a different group of people, where some, like, there are some people, with concerns and stuff in the issue, but none of them are here to sort of carry on the discussion. So if you're okay, maybe we leave it for another week and see if we get a different mix of people to discuss next time.
That's good to me.
Okay. Okay, so moving on to the next issue. So resigning from CPC voting member. This is 1043. So Mary's busy. So, basically looking, I think this, this issue is here to say, hey, do we have anybody else interested from the TSC in becoming the CPC voting member? I've seen a few questions, but are there any questions for people here? I attend most of the meetings, so I can kind of answer some questions, fill people in on what the role would be, if there are any. I guess if there's anybody has an interest, feel free to reach out for me behind the scenes. I guess there's no requirement for us to have a CPC voting member. We have the Node project has two. So Joe is the one that was elected by the community committee. So I guess we could figure out as a CPC if there's nobody who has time or interest, what we're going to do on that front. But I think at this point, I'd suggest we leave that on the agenda for a little longer. And, if there's anybody who has an interest, please let me know and we can, Michael has an idea, or maybe that's an idea related to something else.
Yeah, I think he's talking about the branch protection rules.
Okay.
But yeah, let's leave the CPC stuff on the, let's leave that on the agenda. If nobody else wants to do it, I might be willing to do it in a few weeks. I think it would be good for somebody else to do it, because I don't, for various reasons, but I could do a minimal job if nobody else wants to.
Okay. Thanks for that, and we'll leave it on there for a few weeks to see if anybody else shows some interest, and I can, like I said, since I'm involved there, feel free to reach out to me, because I can give you some more direct experience, that kind of stuff. You're on the edge. Okay, so the next one is number 1041, which is to be or not to be in core. We talked a little bit about that related to when we were talking about the future of the HTTP client. I have been seeing this sort of ongoing discussion there.
I think last week I had volunteered to start a discussion virtually in a Zoom. I put a message in, or this is Danielle speaking, by the way. I put a message in the issue, and just to kind of get a reaction, and I might ping some people that might be interested, just so that people see that, and then set up a meeting for whatever works for people's schedule.
Thanks. Yeah, I see that as the comment in the end of the issue. So thanks for setting that up. And I guess you just, if somebody is interested, just go do a thumbs up on the issue, right? Or post in the. Okay, thanks. I think that's the next step. Anybody, unless there's something else people want to discuss on that one? If not, the next issue is 1039, which is which team should be allowed to land pull requests on node.js node. This one, there's some discussion. I think there's been some discussion of other labels and stuff lately. I'm just wondering, how do we get to closure on this in terms of the original issue?
We definitely discussed this in one of the meetings in the last 2 weeks when you were not here, and so
right.
What's at the bottom? Someone hopefully put a comment in there to say.
Okay.
PSC.
Let me find out what that is. So
I'm busy in the other the branch protection stuff and the other issues. So
yeah. So I see the last comment is from you, which is Does anyone object to creation of manual land label? I think it would be useful regardless who can use the CQ. Open suggestions for a clear name, by the way, if nobody objects. I plan to open the PR. You responded to that. A few comments on the thing, but I think that's kind of not related to the specific question, right?
Well, it kind of is, because that was the concern people had, was that, oh, what if, sometimes there is a commit, we need it to be landed manually, and we don't want triagers to use a label to land it. And so the idea is, well, hopefully that will, hopefully we can automate that problem away. But until we do, can we just create a label that tells them, please don't land this, we'll land it manually.
Right.
So, and the idea was that if we have that label, then maybe we can get consensus that we can, that triagers should be able to land stuff. I think even without the label, triagers should be able to land stuff, but that's but for the benefit of people who are on the fence, who are opposed, if that gets them to if that gets them to yes, then
right. Yep. Yeah, and then that's sort of independent of the commit queue itself, because even if, like, it's not blocking the commit queue, is it?
The idea of the label is to block the commit queue for a particular PR. So to not let triager land PR if we think it should go through the CLI tools only.
Right. I guess I'm just trying to figure out like that. Okay, so that's their so we create that. Do we think that do we need like another call? Like, okay, assuming there's a manual land label, does anybody have any concerns? Just want to be able to see if we're close. Like, I know I expressed some concerns, but I don't feel so strongly that I'd want it to be, blocking forward progress. If most people think now we should just go ahead, right? Mine were sort of a little bit tangential anyway, so. So I guess, like, from here, do we have anybody who's got concerns about, saying, yeah, triagers can land using the commit queue?
I have no concerns. I'd like to empower them to do it, and if it causes problems, we'll take that power away.
So would it be fair to post in the issue that, hey, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, we had 9 TSC members in the last meeting. There was no objections to triagers being able to land commits or land using the CI, using the commit queue at node.js TSC. If you have any concerns, please chime in. Is that
that sounds great.
Okay, so I'll type that in the TSC meeting today.
And then next week, if nobody's objected, we can just declare it resolved.
Right, yeah. We discussed the issue. We had 9 TSC members attendance and nobody objected. Triagers land using queue. Triagers commit queue. We felt that we should try it out and can adjust if there are issues at Node.js TSC. Please comment otherwise. We don't have any objections from who make the next meeting, the assumption is that creators will be okay. Okay, so I've added that comment in, good, and we'll leave on the agenda to next week. No objection. Meeting. We'll leave on agenda week. Okay, so let's move on to the next issue, which is number 617 in the admin repo, which was doc remove the section on export control. I actually went ahead and landed that. We had a couple of approvers from each of the TC and ComCom. And for context, that was something I'd added at and request of a previous executive director, sort of long out of date. And Brian did add some links to the OpenJS Foundation, which handles it in a different way for us now. So just remove that misinformation as it was. Any questions on that one before we move on? Okay, so that takes us to the end of the agenda. So now let's just look at strategic initiatives. We'll do a quick walk through there. So V8 currency, Michael, anything on that front to report, discuss?
Nothing to discuss. V8 9.2 is ready, almost ready to land. I'm just waiting for the stable release of Chrome 92. Should be next week.
Thanks, just taking a quick note there. Okay, so just looking through the list of the people we have here. Build resources, I don't have anything on that front and probably won't for a while. And that's all the ones.
Should we close that? Should we close that strategic initiative and reopen it when it's when there's something to be done?
That might make sense. Yeah, it's kind of like something we'd like to do, but we've tried and yeah, I know. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. No point just saying we're not doing anything for now. Versus agreed we should close for now. Okay. I will go ahead and submit a PR to do that. Oops, I just put it in the wrong place. I guess semi-related, I will have it on the agenda for next week, but since times rotate and different people can make different ones, one I would like to just make sure people are aware of is this one, which is we're planning a mini summit for the next 10 work that we've been doing. So I'll just paste this issue here. In case anybody's interested, hasn't necessarily wanted to come to the regular meetings, but would be interested in coming to the mini summit. There's the information there. So I think that takes us to the end of our agenda. Is there any other things that people want to talk about in the public session? If not, okay, so let's close out. Thanks if everybody can stick around after I stop the stream, but thanks for everybody who's watching.